It's December 1995. I'm 26, and I'm on my own in England in a tiny town called Leatherhead, and I'm homeless. Not on the streets, but living in a small dressing room in a large regional theater. You see, I'd been commissioned by this particular theater to write a contemporary adaptation of Romeo and Juliet, and having just split up with my boyfriend, who had decided to walk from England to Pakistan in a pair of kung fu shoes, so who knew he was going to be back? I said yes to the commission. I said yes to a crappy wage, and I pack up what's left of my life in Birmingham, and I catch a train to Leatherhead, where I don't know anyone at all. Anyway, when I first get there, it's all good, because I'm going to stay with the director, Andy Pullen, at his place. I'm billeting, and he lives with his parents, and his parents are extremely welcoming. I mean, they are so happy that I've come to stay with them, because as they like to tell me again and again, I'm the first girl that Andy's ever brought home for Christmas, which is a little awkward because Andy is very openly gay, yet his entire family appear to be in complete denial about his sexuality. And as the days go on, the overt enthusiasm, the initial outpouring of love that's bestowed upon me very quickly turns to a stony and disappointed silence, which isn't exactly conducive to writing. So I end up installing myself in this small, unused dressing room I find tucked away at the top of the theater, and I discreetly claim it as my office at first and then as my home, and it's perfect. It has a fold-out bed and a bathroom with unlimited hot water just down the hall, and a security system that I learned to bypass thanks to Clive the cleaner, this aging hippie who cleans the building in white clogs. Anyway, so I'm living there quite happily, and nobody seems to either notice or mind, and the festive season kicks in with the Christmas Carol being loaded onto the main stage, and the whole building is abuzz with technicians working really long, crazy hours. Anyway, in the midst of this, I wake up one morning and I sneak out for a bath, and when I come back to my room, there's a man sleeping in my bed. So I say to Clive that there's a man sleeping in my place. There's a man sleeping in my bed. To which Clive says, "Well, yeah, that's Phil. He's the deputy technician of the theater. He actually lives here too, in the basement. He's been here for about a year." Anyway, that night after lockup, I'm crawling into bed and thinking about Phil, who I've nicknamed the Phantom, when I hear the most gorgeous ambient music drifting up out of the main stage. The Phantom. And he's playing my favorite song, this song called "Are You Here?" And I think, he's trying to make contact with me, right? So I hop out of bed and I start crawling on my hands and knees towards the catwalk, because it's the only way I can get to the main stage without setting off the alarm. So I'm slithering along the catwalk on my belly, and I'm trying to spy on him through the set of the Christmas Carol, and that's when I start thinking, oh my God, what am I doing? Am I just totally delusional? Am I a stalker now? But whatever, right? I mean, because now the Phantom is playing Wonderwall. You know that tune by Oasis, yeah? I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. And he's playing it on repeat over and over. And as I listen to the lyrics, I begin to realize that each and every word personally pertains to him and me. I know, like it sounds crazy, right? But I just know that he's not only trying to make contact with me, he's trying to communicate his love for me, I think. Maybe? Anyway, I decide that the next day I really need to talk to someone about this. So I go and find Andy Pullen, who's up to his ears in tech for Romeo and Juliet, and I come into the studio theater where he's working, and there, sitting next to him, is the Phantom himself. Turns out that the lighting designer that had been originally slated to do the design for Romeo and Juliet can't. So he's taking over. Perfect, I think. The stars are aligning. Phil, it turns out, doesn't speak much, at least not to me. And the show opens, and at the opening night party, it's like I'm not even there. And I can't help but feel like a big, sad, sorry loser. And I'm sad, too, because I also know that my work in this place is done, and I'm going to have to move on, but to where, I don't know. And that's when it hits me that with Christmas just a few days away, I'm not only broke, but I'm completely and utterly alone. Anyway, Andy tells me that the invitation still stands for me to come spend Christmas with the Pullens at his house. And the thought of sitting on a floral patterned couch crammed between his two disappointed parents wearing a Christmas crown on my head and watching the Queen make her speech is somehow too depressing. So Andy takes matters in hand on my behalf. He sets me up on a date with the Phantom on Christmas Eve, which initially excites me, but then it hits me, where are we going to go at the end of the night? I mean, right? Like, he can't exactly walk me home back to my dressing room. And it's not going to be easy to go back to his for a cup of tea in the basement. I mean, it just seems so tawdry somehow. But anyway, there's no opting out, so we meet in the bar at the theater, and sure enough, at the end of the night, Phil asks me back to his for a cup of tea, and I say, sure. And we start walking downstairs towards the basement, and I'm thinking, oh God, this is so seedy. But then we end up walking out the stage door and out into the streets, and I'm thinking, where are we going? And we walk along the high street and all the way to the end of town, and we keep walking, and we're walking out into the countryside, and we arrive at this beautiful, rambling elderflower farm. And there, in that farmhouse, sipping hot mugs of tea and sitting in his newly rented attic apartment, I ask him how come he's been homeless for so long. And he doesn't say anything, but he asks if I'd like to spend Christmas with him. And I say yes. And I spend Christmas and then a good part of a year. And even though it doesn't work out between us in the end, I end up drifting back to Canada, and he ends up drifting to another basement in another theater somewhere. I will never forget waking up on Christmas morning in that farmhouse and experiencing the kindness, the generosity, the love of a complete and utter stranger. Thank you.